BattlefieldOne podcast is brought to you by you. Yes, you, the listener. Thank you so much for listening to us, and thank you all the patrons that support our Battlefield adventure. Wait for the middle of the show to know more about Patreon, or go to patreon.com/TheLankySoldier. Enjoy the show.
But then when you've got Angel screaming, Angel does it again. And
that was something, right?
That was something.
I'm sorry, you canceled the support for the game a month ago.
Why would they even host a trade?
I don't know.
And I sit down and he picks up one donut and eats it. So you want to QA games?
When the rubber meets the road, they're gonna be like, oh my god, I don't like seeing Mario get his skull smashed.
Oh, I would love
it
to see
doesn't
that.
work.
I would love to see
yeah, like I said.
Hello and welcome to BattlefieldOne podcast. As you guessed it, we talk about Battlefield. Nothing more special than that. We just talk about Battlefield.
Wait, this isn't a baking show?
I was hoping it's gonna be a baking show, but apparently we have to host a Battlefield podcast.
Damn it.
I know, right?
I'm getting my weeks mixed up. Anyway.
Yeah, short and simple intro. Welcome to BattlefieldOne podcast. My name is Tom, also known as the Lanky Soldier. I'm joined by Ray Edmunds. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing, Ray?
So we have something very special put together for you guys this week. Since there's not a whole heck of a lot as far as news going on in the franchise, and there's not really much we want to do as far as speculation goes, because, you know, that gets kind of boring after a while. We've noticed that a lot of the Battlefield games are actually starting to go on sale for next to nothing on Steam and EA, etc., etc. So, excuse me. Allergens and what have you. We decided we were going to put together like maybe a loose, comprehensive guide on not a full how-to, but kind of like some of the basic points that maybe some of you new guys just you can't quite get, or it's not being relayed to you. We're not calling you stupid, but we're going to kind of condense a lot of information that the game tries to imply to you, in a way that, you can learn it. You're getting some knowledge imparted on you from quote-unquote Battlefield veterans, as it would be, and we hope this helps some people out who are actually trying to get into the franchise and want to stick around in the franchise and just can't quite understand why things aren't clicking. So we're doing this for you. So, we're going to do this for infantry for this run. The next one we're going to do, we'll do with vehicles, because we felt in pre-production that it would be best in order to break that down.
Yeah, we're going to mention all of it, the vehicles and infantry. But again, anyone listening right now, this is just a beginner's guide. This is not advanced strategy guide. This is more aimed for people that bought the game for literally $1, Ray. I'm not kidding. $1 on PlayStation Store.
I believe it.
Battlefield 1 is $1, and there's other games on sale, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 2042, or Battlefield 5, whatever the case may be. All these games are on sale. A lot of people are like, you know what, I never played Battlefield. Let me try it, because they're cheap. Yeah, and I've been seeing a lot of, posts everywhere. It's like, oh, I started playing Battlefield. I have no idea what I'm doing and so on. I am confused and so on. How to get good, all that kind of stuff. So
for those people, here we are.
Yeah, so we'll try our best to. It's like I say, it's not gonna be an advanced strategy guide or whatever. This is just a beginner's basic stuff to help you play better the game, to understand what the game is about. And we understand that each Battlefield game is different. Like Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 are kind of similar. Battlefield 1 is different. Battlefield 5 is different. Battlefield 2042 is completely different.
Wildly.
Yeah, wildly different.
So what we're gonna belay to you guys isn't necessarily going to always wholly apply across the board, because in some instances some classes behave slightly different than some than others. But for the most part, this is about as bum basic 101 as it can get, that as far as knowledge that applies to the whole thing. And we're not just going to go over, this isn't going to be like a first person shooters basics things, because I would think if you have an interest in playing a military based first person shooter, you would have a bit of a knowledge on how to play a first person shooter. If you're here for that level of that bar of knowledge, might want to look elsewhere, because we're saying this in terms that you already know how to play a first-person shooter. When I say the word flank, you know what that word means. When we say choke points and things of that nature, it should click for you what they are. If you don't know what some of these words are, there's always Google for you. Have fun to look them up. That being said, I say we dive right into this. So what is Battlefield. It's a combined arms warfare game. You're not only just playing as infantry. You can be a vehicle pilot. You can be a support that repairs vehicles. There's multiple roles and multiple things that you can do in these games. That's just not cut and paste dry. I'm a medic. I heal people. I mean, there's more to being a medic in assault, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing with assault classes. In some games, those are more supposed to be your front lines. Assault, medic, same damn thing. Shut up, Ray. You're getting into yourself.
So yeah, like Ray said, it's basically a combined armed warfare, vehicles, infantry, like working together to achieve an objective. And Battlefield by nature is not a competitive shooter by nature, because it's supposed to be like a fun military shooter, the two teams fighting for objectives and they achieve their goals. Basically that. It's not
arcade sim casual, I guess would be the term for it.
It's not mil sim, like Arm of Reforger right now or Squad or anything like that. Battlefield always was like a alternative to Call of Duty. So you know how Call of Duty is like 6-on-6, small maps, all that kind of stuff. Battlefield is a bit more bigger, more I don't want to say better, but it's more expanded. You play on bigger maps because you need to accommodate the vehicles like tanks, jets, and all that kind of stuff. So
I've got it.
Yeah, one.
To put it in terms that like people could understand, it's like the television show The Boys, just real enough in order to ground you, but wholly outlandish in its entirety.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Battlefield has always been about that goofy military fun. Like the way I describe Battlefield games are basically Michael Bay movies in a sense. If you watch 13 Hours or watch any Transformers movies where military is involved with Michael Bay, that's basically it. It's grounded in that realism, but it's so goofy. It's like you don't think you could even do that in real life. That kind of stuff.
It's like Hammy Milsim.
Yeah, so it's entering that like fantasy realm of possibilities in the real world, So
I want to know what it's like to actually eject from a jet in a straight vertical shot up 0 degrees. Eject from this said jet, have that jet lose enough velocity so that after I RPG the jet that's following me behind trying to get a missile lock, that I can jump back into the jet and fly off and kill other things. That's the level of absurdity, and for those of you that don't know, that is what's called a rendezvous. And now there's an achievement for that, which is wild. I mean, have we ever performed that? No, but we have done some actually absurdly outlandish things when it comes to this game. And we'll get into some of those things as we get into the more broken down topics. But yes, Battlefield is pretty much weaponized chaos at its finest. That's how I've always looked at it. The players who do well in these games tend to be the ones to use that chaos to their advantage. And when I say that, I mean things like if players are bunching up in a specific area, I tend to play a lot more stealth, which is, again, very outlandish, weird play style in order to say that I play for a Battlefield game. But, hey, that's me. When I see people bunching up in, like, choke points and things like that, I don't try to force my way through those. I mean, I certainly can as an aggressive infantry player, but my preference is okay, I run a lot of suppressed weapons and I get a lot of short-range things. So I will find a short-range flank that I can run in order to actually use the noise and everything that's going on to my advantage in order to either flank completely around the choke point and get past them and start backcapping them on a different flag, or even go so far as to, if I can get them in a position where I could probably pick off a couple of those people holding that choke point up and kind of help those guys that are at that point to push through the rest of the way, I'll do that. And as long as I'm not spotted, or as long as I haven't been noticed, I'm free to just haul ass off to the back of the map and start trolling the players back that way. So that's what I mean by using chaos to your advantage. Vehicles and stuff like that, you can do that as well. Let's see here. I don't. Yeah.
All right. So you buy the Battlefield game, right? You buy any Battlefield game. Usually, like I said, every Battlefield game is different. But usually, when it comes to like modes, it's usually like 3 main modes these days, which is basically Conquest. Conquest is basically a big ass map with flags on it. Imagine it's like a domination map, right? It's a domination map, but vehicles, and it's bigger. Like, instead of 3 flags, you have like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 flags, depending on the map, right? And maps are, either can be really narrow, can be really expansive and big. So Battlefield has all that type of maps accommodating all different modes. But Conquest is basically the bread and butter.
Some maps are literal straight lines.
Literally straight lines. So some of the maps are literally straight lines. But maps are maps. So Conquest is basically the bread and butter of Battlefield because it's the most sandbox, the most generic, the most simple game to understand. You basically spawn, with your weapon, vehicle, whatever the case may be. Go capture
Go
the
to
flags.
whatever flag you want, do the thing.
Yeah, and the team that holds the majority of the flags for the majority of the game wins the game. That's
one tip that I would like put out to new players that are new to Conquest. This is one thing I found that when Tom and I were running amateur competitive leagues, we wouldn't always go into a match with our A gamers because A, not all the time did we have them, or B, sometimes we would have them doing other roles. That being said, we found it best that for people who are new to the game to actually pick a section of the map and try to stick to that. And what I mean by that is if you're finding that a lot of fighting is going off on a couple of big major flags and you're finding yourself getting completely just raffle stomped every time you try to go to that section, go where there's not a whole lot of action. You could find yourself being very helpful in an instance when trying to stay out of the action and actually keep flags going. Even if it's just a matter of you run up to the flag, cap it, and run off to another flag, you're kind of pulling the enemy away from where the main action is, so you're kind of helping your team out in a way, if you think about it. Excuse me. So just because you can't find yourself to be a complete asset, like at the front lines where all the biggest majority of the fighting is going, I invite you in order to take the subtle approach and try that, because you'll find yourself in engagements where you're more one-on-one or one-on-two and not so much as you're popping up to get a couple shots off this guy you randomly saw running across the firefight and you've got 6 different people shooting at you all at once because you're literally in the middle of a firefight. So keep that in mind. I wholly suggest that.
Yeah, and for the new people that have no idea what's going on, like, for example, I understand sometimes Conquest can be intimidating for new players to be like, oh, big map, vehicles everywhere, chaos, and so on, what the hell I'm doing?
Where do I go?
Long story short, you just have to focus. The main focus for you is your team needs to control majority of the flags to win the game. And you basically fight for the flags and you try to control them. And also what people don't really understand, for example, because it's a Battlefield game, it has different classes. If you die, don't just instantly respawn, because there's a chance there might be a medic around you and revive you. Now, what's the point of reviving? So because each time you respawn, it costs a point for you. We call them tickets. Well, I don't know what they call them in Battlefield 2042 now, but back in the day they were called tickets.
They're tickets, damn it.
Yeah,
they're nothing else.
To me, they're still tickets. Yeah.
They will always be tickets. We'll call them points over my dead
points,
body.
tickets, whatever you want to call them. Basically, the score, right? So every time you respawn, it costs your team a point, and whether it be negative or positive, whatever the end goal of the game is. Because in Battlefield 1, the Conquest match was upwards, while every Battlefield game besides Battlefield 1 is downwards. So when you hit 0, you lose the game. Yeah, so you basically...
Loyal listener.
Yeah, so think of it as a resource management.
If you wait and get revived, you won't cost them a point. It's amazing.
Yeah, so think of it as a resource management, basically. That's what it is. So you have 800 points here, 800 points on the enemy team. And whoever reaches 0 loses the game, because you are a resource.
Which that kind of leans back into my first point, too. Because, again, if all you're doing is spawning in, rushing into a firefight, and getting immediately capped 5 seconds after you're spawning, all you're doing is just contributing to a ticket bleed. And that's not to sound elitist or anything like that. Like, this is legit a thing that happens. So that's why I suggest try to take the subtle approach. Go the quiet route. Make it so try to find yourself in situations where you're not dying as often. If you can control that, which you very well can. You can.
Yeah. So every time you die and you know you can be revived as a medic, let the medic revive you, because that means you save a point for your team. You don't lose your resource, basically. And that's why there's like play styles, like many play styles on like I've seen it many times. People that don't really focus on killing or capturing flags, their main
I was
purpose.
literally about to say that.
Yeah, their main purpose is like they play the medic class and they're literally just reviving their teammates no fucking stop. Just keep going, reviving.
Yep.
And it's-
Revive, cap, or if you're a support, you're just constantly dropping ammo at the firefights and doing suppressing fire and shit like that. I have had matches where I have literally gone like top 5 scoring players and doing literally just that, throwing med bags, reviving people, and trying to cap flags. It's wild. So yeah, kills do not necessarily matter in Conquest. You can force a victory in a ticket bleed and everybody have a relatively low kill count. I've seen it before where even in like Battlefield 4 with when we had 64 players, there were some matches that were just ticket bleed so damn quick. Like everybody's KD was like 5 and 6 and stuff like that. Like it was like very low for a match. And it can happen. So kills do not matter always. Don't think that that's your only scoring metric.
Yeah. When it comes to scoring, but because at the end of the day, for example, this is Conquest, right? So let's move to a different mode that is like very classic to Battlefield. It's Rush or Breakthrough.
My favorite.
So the difference between Rush and Breakthrough, so before everyone gets confused, Rush is basically usually 12 versus 12, and Breakthrough is like 32 versus 32. And the concept is basically the same. On Rush, you arm there's attackers and defenders. So attackers have to arm a bomb, you destroy the bomb, and you move to the next objective. It's basically the same thing. And it's like 5-6 sectors depending on the map. Sometimes 4, sometimes 3, like depends on the map, right? But you basically, the attackers have to arm the bomb, destroy the bomb, and defenders have to defend that bomb. You know, it's like...
The key difference between Breakthrough and Rush, it's not just the player count. You missed one big thing. In Breakthrough, you can push your attackers back. In Rush, you can't. Once you have, as an attacker, once you have knocked out a pair of NCOMs or a pair of stations or whatever that the destroyable target is in the Rush mode, that is it. That's where the fighting is.
No,
the
you
defenders
can't
cannot
break through.
overwhelm the attackers and push them back a set of objectives like they
you
can
can.
in Breakthrough. So that's a big difference.
You
Not
can
in
in
Rush. No,
Breakthrough.
you can't. In
Yeah,
Breakthrough, you can.
I mean, the way I treat them, like, okay, so the difference between Rush and Breakthrough, there's different player counts usually, but Rush you have bombs, in Breakthrough you have flags. So basically, you need to capture a flag in Breakthrough with all your teammates to progress to the next stage. While in Rush, you need to destroy the bomb. So one player
Right,
can
but
rush...
what I'm saying is in Rush, you can't, like, you as defenders can't repair a set of NCOMs and literally push the attackers back.
that's what
a
you
sector,
mean,
like
yeah,
a sector
okay,
like you
yeah,
can
yeah,
in
okay, that's what you mean, yeah,
That's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
You can push your attackers back in both and lock them in a place, but, like, I'm talking about in Breakthrough, you could literally push through, cap the attackers' flags, and literally push them back a sector. That's the difference between Breakthrough. Breakthrough is that pushing of a war line.
Yeah.
Rush, it's not like that. Rush, the war line constantly pushes back, and if the attackers can destroy all the MCOMs, then that's the end of the match. If the defenders can hold everything down until the attackers lose off of ticket bleed, which is another thing that comes really handy, is really key in Rush, is again that resource management, like we talked about in the Conquest section. You really should be seriously waiting around for a medic. Wait the full respawn time. In some cases, with discretion, though, because in some cases it is worthwhile in order to try and quick spawn in real quick and haul ass to an MCOM, but just do it like 20 times and cost your team a shitload of tickets. If you can't do it after 1 or 2 times, just stop trying. That's where the resource management part comes in. Rush is personally my favorite because I feel it's very
I personally prefer Rush over
objective
Breakthrough.
based. Yeah, I love Rush and Breakthrough. Those are my 2 favorites, and the reason being is
I don't like Breakthrough. I with all passion. I know there's a lot of people that like Breakthrough. I hate Breakthrough with passion because I personally think Breakthrough is just a clusterfuck of chaos. I mean, some people want that chaos, but it's just
see, thank you. I love that clusterfuck of chaos.
See, I kind of want strategy in my games, because at the end of the day, Breakthrough is just like pile as many bodies on the flag as you can to capture that flag and move to the next sector. That's what it is, basically. Which I'm not a fan of, personally. But
I am when there's air support.
Going back on the...
This makes my job as a pilot we'll get to stuff like that.
Yeah, going back on the resource management thing. So going back to the revive, for example. The reviving is extremely important in these modes because you have a limited time with tickets or points, whatever you want to call it, much limited than Conquest. Because Conquest is more open sandbox, like, it's you can do whatever you want. While Rush and Breakthrough is more, what's the word I'm looking for? Streamlined. It's more streamlined. Like, you have Rush, like you have you have 75 tickets, 75 times you can revive. All your teammates can revive. If you have 0, you can't push and you lose the game. So reviving is important, but
resupplying is also equivocally
That too.
important in these game modes because you don't have the luxury of being able to instantly respawn with more ammo. That's the other kicker. So it's Russian Breakthrough are a lot more team focused as far as the mechanics go. Like they almost have to work. And even with recons, the recons have rules in that too, because like Battlefield, for instance, Pokeballs and a suppressed carbine, bro, good times. Just throw them at the throw them where they're fighting and let the minimap light up for your teammates. It helps immensely.
keep in mind they have no idea what Pokeballs is. So I know. Anyway, we'll talk about that. So yeah, but as we're gonna go to the classes thing, don't just go for the revive. If you're playing medic or assault, whatever, the class that can revive, don't push just for the revives, just for the sake of it, because if your teammate died, that means he already was shot by someone. And we don't know by how many players he got shot. Sure, there's bad players will predict and understand and read the map and see, they will know how many players shot that teammate, and they will decide if they're gonna go for the revive or not. But just don't go just like in the open field and just go for the revive for the sake of it, because you're just gonna get shot too. And both of you are just lose tickets and you achieve nothing. So be careful where you revive, because you need to kind of know where the enemy is, all that kind of stuff. So don't just push for the sake of it. It's like...
But that should be in your base knowledge of FPS playing, because you should be clearing your areas as you're moving through them.
True, yeah. Yeah, true.
So if you're clearing your areas properly, then that shouldn't be too much of a problem. That is why there is a respawn timer. It doesn't just instantaneously happen. You've got it doesn't feel like it, but you actually do have enough time. In most cases, if you're right there when the player goes down, you have more than enough time in order to try and clear the area and assess whether you alone should run in there and try and get that revive. If you got support around you and they're able to put suppressive fire down, then maybe give it a go. If you're completely by yourself, then you might want to just let that burn down. Maybe try and slip out and look like you're trying to go for it. See if you can draw the other people out. But again, this is all FPS 101 type stuff. You've got to assess your situations as it goes when it comes to stuff like that. Same thing when it comes to repairing vehicles. If you just saw a tank take 3 RPGs to one side, it's very ill-advised for you to rush to that side of the tank and throw out your repair torch. It's probably best for you to go on the opposite side or the back of it, because in the older games, I'm pretty sure you can still do it. You can break out your repair tool and have the driver start backing up, and they will just push you back with them while you're repairing them.
It still happens in Battlefield 2042.
Cool. Yes. Don't get rid of that, Dice. Don't ever get rid of that.
Yeah, I hope they're not gonna get rid of it. So we might as well talk about classes. So before we're gonna move to that, Battlefield usually has 3 main modes, which is Conquest, Rush, and Breakthrough, and they offer different type of gameplay experiences. There's other game modes, like my favorite, for example, is Obliteration. There's like each team has 3...
Chase the bomb.
Yeah, each team has 3 bomb sites, and there's 1 bomb that spawns in the middle of the map all the time, and both teams have to fight for 1 that bomb. Grab the bomb, try to arm it. It's like... I don't know what to call it. What's the best example?
Those who play the finals will be very familiar with these mechanics, because you're stuck holding something while everybody else has to defend your ass.
Yeah.
That's one thing I don't like about that. I really... Look, I understand the concept of being the sole player carrying the thing, and the thing can't be put on their backpack for whatever dumb reason. But if I can't at least hold a pistol while I'm carrying something, I'm not going to be inclined to carry it unless I fucking have to. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, thankfully...
that's the one thing I hate about Obliteration in the finals.
In the finals. Thankfully, it was now, I think, in Battlefield. It's just whoever just grab the bomb and just play as normally. Just go to the objective and plant it.
Right, I want to be able to throw that thing on my back and at least be able to use like not being able to use heavy weapons like if I'm carrying a rocket launcher or something like that. I can understand being cut off that, but for the love of God, what is wrong with me being able to like unsling my rifle and use it while I'm carrying a thing?
Yeah, I'm not found that, but whatever. So there's other modes like Chain Link. There's Control, I think it's called. Because Battlefield, for example, Battlefield 2042 introduced a lot of new game modes, for example. Some of them are fun, some of them are just like eh. But anyway, the main modes are basically Conquest, Rush, and Breakthrough, and usually your co-op. If you can play these games, you will play other game modes just fine. And I know some people have their favorites and everything. That's fine. For example, I love Chainlink. It's like a linear conquest.
Chainlink is just basic, it's mini conquest for infantry only. I mean, and then there's TDM. So like people who like,
TDM domination, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. People who find that the other tip that I would give people is people who want to be a seriously good infantry player. Those are 2 game modes you probably should be playing in order to get your gunplay, your cornering, and your clearing and everything down. Because I find. I always like when they released Chainlink for Battlefield 4. I hated the maps that it was on, but I loved the concept of it.
Oh, I love the maps. Maps were great if you ask me.
The verticality was one of the things because like if teammates weren't trying to play the verticality with you, it was a fucking horrible time. That being said, like I've always found those 2 game modes in order to be great for helping to train yourself on how to be a better infantry player. So like if you're finding yourself lacking, I feel like that would be a good place in order to start, good place to give it a shot. Try Chainlink first. Chainlink is a little bit more laid out instead of just random
assuming
chaos.
Chainlink is available on the game.
That's assuming Chainlink is available in said game mode that you're playing.
But
yes,
I assume TDM or Domination is available in the last.
Domination, yes.
In the last 3
I about forgot
games.
about Dom.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, in the last
Dom
games,
used to be our play. Dom used to be our thing. Like I miss Dom. Dom was fun. So Domination definitely another because it's basically conquest without the vehicles and tighter spaces. So you learn how to route yourself a lot better in those, and you have to do it more on the fly and a lot quicker. So I recommend those. So I feel we should be getting more into the classes now.
Yeah,
as
we move to the classes, just gonna mention this one thing: why you should play Domination TDM if you're really not good at infantry. I'm just gonna tell my story quickly. So back when I was playing Battlefield 3, like early Battlefield 3 days, I was absolute garbage. I was like negative KD, like we're talking like 0.6 something KD, like absolute garbage player, right? I was garbage.
We were all there at one point.
I was
son.
shit at Conquest. I was shit at Rush. Like I was garbage. It sounds like my most. Was the first Battlefields again? Even though it wasn't first, but that's the most played. And my first, I was absolute garbage, potato. So what I decided to play TDM, and there was no domination on Battlefield 3, but I started playing TDM. And what's different about TDM in Battlefield or Domination, whatever, about those modes? Unlike Call of Duty, so I presume you played Call of Duty. You know how Call of Duty is. You have maps that are designed with purpose. Like 3 lanes, whatever the case may be, flag here, there, and there. Battlefield is...
And they're fucking small!
Well, yeah, that too. But Battlefield, on the other hand, it doesn't really design maps like that. Like, it has to be like flow and everything. No, usually, because Battlefield always focuses on big game modes, Domination and TDM are literally like an afterthought. So they just picked a random spot on the map, any random spot that could be somewhat playable for a TDM
Fence
or
it
Domination.
off, and there you go.
Yeah, and it's basically perfect mode to learn infantry combat because there's usually no flow whatsoever, and that's how usually
nothing changes.
Yeah, and usually that's how Battlefield games are like to new players. Like, yeah, when you know how the game works, you start to see all the flows and everything in your head. You know what the players will be, you know the choke points and everything. But when you never played a Battlefield game and you straight go to Conquest, yeah, you'll be confused. You'll die a lot of times, you have no idea what you're doing. But if you play Domination or TDM all the time, majority of the time, just to get used to the controls, to get used to the mechanics and the gunplay and all that kind of stuff, the maps are very random because there's no flow whatsoever. So if you can nail that, if you can actually somewhat understand how the flow works on those, like on that piece of terrain that they picked for TTM, you'll be fine. Like if you can handle that, then you can transition to Conquest and Rush or whatever the case may be, and you will start seeing all the same patterns that you saw in those TDM matches. That's why it's so different from Call of Duty. Call of Duty is like meticulously designed maps with purpose.
Yeah, and you can, once you pick up a route or you start routing yourself in COD, it's very easy in order to dominate once you have a route down. Because it's very easy to time yourself on spawns and things like that. Battlefield, you can't really do that because at the very least, your opposing team has the ability to spawn somewhere where you as the player cannot go. So, and I always felt like that was always one big positive between the two, because one thing that always pissed me off the most about COD is people would figure out where the spawns were at on maps, and you could literally run to them.
Yeah, as a guy that played competitive Call of Duty, not professional, whatever, but I do play ranked. I do play Call of Duty ranked, and I'm a diamond player, whatever. If anyone cares. Not CDL already, but hey, a diamond player, diamond dad, right? I'm a diamond dad, even though I'm without a child in my life. Doesn't matter. I'm a diamond player. I can hold my own and so on. So yeah, you're right. Call of Duty is basically you need to know where the spawns are. That's basically a skill. So if you can learn this, where the players are spawning, where they're gonna spawn, and so on. If you control this flag, that means they're gonna spawn there. It's a skill thing. In Battlefield, it's not really a thing. It's more random, and that's why it's
chaos.
It's a bit different skill set. You don't need to predict where they're gonna spawn, but you kind of need to predict from what direction they might come. So
and where they're going.
Yeah,
and that's why I said at the top of it that any player who can harness the chaos and use it to their advantage will, for the most part, dominate in these games. I think that's one of the big points of contention that a lot of people find jarring when they first pick these games up. Is it's that chaotic. You will never, ever play the exact same match the exact same way over and over and over again, with the exception of maybe Locker, because Locker and are pretty much play the exact same way every damn time, all the time, but the map's designed for that to happen. It's a straight line. So
for people that don't know, there's two famous Battlefield maps, Operation Metro and Operation Locker. And it's basically, the point of those maps is literally just a straight line.
They're meat grinders. That's all they are.
Like 3-lane meat grinders, 64 players in 3 corners, have fun. Yeah, it can be fun.
It can be fun as fuck.
Yeah,
but it gets boring after a while, and those are like the most popular maps in the game.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But again, because they're meat grinders, they're stat grinding maps. That's what they are.
Yeah, that's
exactly what they are.
Yeah. Especially if the next.
But again, like, you'll never play Firestorm the exact same way. You'll never play any of what was it? The carrier assault maps the same. Those will never play the same.
Yeah.
So but in COD, you could almost play the exact same map over and over and over and over again the exact same way, and the game will play out pretty much the exact same way for the most part. And that was always the thing that I find different. So that being said, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. How the hell do we use these classes?
Hey there, listener. I hope you enjoyed the discussion we're having right now. Before we continue, like I said at the start of the episode, I will tell you all about our amazing Patreon that is helping us keeping the show going. Patreon.com/TheLankySoldier.
Some Patreon exclusiveness. We here at Patreon would love for this.
You sound like every nerd in all the 90s TV shows.
First, I want to thank every single person that joined as a free member or subscribed to our Patreon in the last year. The support was amazing and only motivates us to continue with our Battlefield adventure.
He does this knowing full well how much I hate AI generated shit.
Yeah.
He does this on purpose.
This is what we call capitalism.
This is his way of getting my ass in order to just make money real quick out of nowhere to buy a fucking webcam.
By becoming a patron as a free member or subscribing to any tier, you're not only supporting the show, but you're also getting a lot of content back. By subscribing to any tier, you'll get ad-free early access to all our future episodes. You can already listen to our previous episodes ad-free by just joining the Patreon as a free member. No more waiting, no more interruptions, just pure, unfiltered Battlefield content straight to your ears before anyone else gets to hear it. We're also giving you behind-the-scenes look what goes into making Battlefield 1 podcast or any other content we're producing. From planning sessions to recording mistakes and everything in between, you'll get an insider's perspective of how we bring each episode to life. And the reason why I'm saying
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's your fault.
It's all my fault.
It's all your f***ing fault, Ray. You ruined the whole show. We need to cancel it again.
Just got can it for another 8 months again. Just appear out of nowhere with
we need to cancel it again. Ray, what the did you do? And that's only Battlefield. We're also offering access to our exclusive Patreon podcast series, Live Gaming Gathering. This is a show where me and my friends gather together to talk about everything in the video game industry, to movies, to anything else that is on our minds. With more than 30 episodes already available, this is hours and hours of content for you to listen. Trust me, they are the most fun and amazing conversations we ever had because it's just us being us, relaxed and actually having fun.
All right, I think we need to move on because we've been kind of on this subject for about the last 15 minutes now.
Yeah.
We got a couple of things in order.
Are you feeling better now? Let this
Yes,
team off?
Yeah, you got that
I
off
do
your
feel
chest.
I do feel better. Oh no, wait, one more thing. For example, Angelo.
damn.
No, we were in
I'm not
discussion.
going to mention any names.
We also believe in keeping our patrons informed, so I post monthly updates to let you know what to expect in the upcoming month. So you'll always know what to expect in the future if you're not sure about the content we're posting. And just recently, we opened a new Discord server where people can talk to each other and get all the latest updates about our content or the Lanky Soldier channel. Please find a link to that Discord in the description of this episode or our Patreon. No subscription needed for that. And because we're confident that you'll love the content we're creating, we offer a free trial that you can use anytime. We believe we're making good content that will make you stay in the long term, and we will not be offering free trials if I do not believe that.
Do y'all hear that, major advertisers that aren't listening right now? You can do tasteful ad breaks.
BattlefieldOne podcast was rebooted back in March 2023. We learned a lot of lessons from our previous shows that consist of 41 episodes, and we've been building an amazing foundations for the future of this current show. There's a reason why we're the best Battlefield-related podcast available on Spotify and everywhere else. So if you want to support the show and get all these amazing extras, go to patreon.com/TheLankySoldier. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep delivering the content you enjoy. Thank you for being part of our small Battlefield community, and we look forward to seeing you on Patreon. Now, let's go back to the show. So before we continue, let me just say this, because we mentioned at the start of this episode, every Battlefield game is different. The thing about Battlefield, they love to reinvent the wheel every freaking time, for better or worse. So there's literally, we don't have like established classes that we can tell, like, you know, in Call of Duty you might imagine like, oh yeah, loadouts and everything, you know, you kind of have like established rule set and people expect that, while Battlefield is really more loosey-loosey with its rule set. So usually we don't have like established classes, and class numbers usually change with the game, or the names get changed, or the equipment get changed, whatever the case may be. This changes all the time. But the general idea usually in each Battlefield game, there's usually 4 classes that they complement their own niche. So basically assault/medic, which is, you know, fight infantry player, fighting everyone, like, you know, and reviving everyone, dropping medkits, all that kind of stuff. Then you have engineer, which is basically anti-vehicle class, you know, that kind of stuff. It has all the explosives, you know, against vehicles. Then you have support class, which is basically, you know, suppressive fire, LMGs, ammo, you know, whatever the case may be, basically there to support your teammates, give ammo to engineers.
New players will find that the repair tool will jump between the support class and the anti-vehicle class.
Oh,
This spins.
For example, that's a good thing you mentioned. For example, usually in Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, and the repair tool to repair your tank when you take damage, usually been with engineer class. But I can't remember which game, but one of the games gave that engineer tool, the repair kit, to the support class. I can't remember which
I
Battlefield
want to say Battlefield 1, but that doesn't sound
I think it was
right.
5.
I think it was. It was either 1 or 5.
I
It
don't
was
remember.
One of the two.
But one of the games gave that repair tool from engineer to support. So because, hey, support is gonna help supporting the tanks, right? I'll fix the tank, right? You know,
Fun fact, in Battlefield 3 and 4, the repair tool can actually kill. Go for the skull.
it can kill players, yeah, too. So it's like a melee weapon, I guess. So
can the defib.
yeah, so that's the differences we're talking about, yeah, because there might be differences, but the general idea, of course, the last class is the recon class, which is your, you know, specialist in, you know, somewhat stealth, spotting, recon, you know, scouting.
got the long-range rifles. We sit at the back of the map with those... Shut up. No,
Yeah.
that is not what that class is exclusively for. That class can do that. It doesn't do it as well as people think it can, because the people who try to do that, for the most part, I'm sorry to say this and not to sound offensive to anybody, they can't do it. Sniper rifles in Battlefield are wholly different animals than what they are in COD, so if you think you're going to hop in and just, like, even with the older games and start, like, 360 no-scope, bro, while certainly you can pull it off in Battlefield, you will find it is not as easy.
Also, if you played Warzone, I'm pretty sure there'll be quite fine with sniper rifles in Battlefield. I don't think it's Warzone and Battlefield. Funny enough, have a lot of similarities in a sense in terms of simple gameplay mechanics. Also, as we're talking about sniper classes, I'm also gonna mention this. Usually in previous games, each class had a set of weapons that are restricted for them. So assault rifles were, for example, only to medic and assault class. SMGs for engineer. Support class usually had LMGs. Recon had snipers, or whatever the case may be.
Everybody was able to have carbines.
Yeah. And then
some games, the SMGs and shit were interchangeable.
Yeah.
And the what guns could be assigned always jumped through, and now I think it's just like they just don't care. Equip whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, Battlefield 2042, like, granted, it came with specialists. It didn't come with classes, but they put them back in classes later on. And they did unrestricted, so you can use any weapon you want on each class, which I personally like, because it basically creates opportunities for other classes to be valuable in some certain situations. Because why Recon should not have an assault rifle, honestly? Why not? Like,
How often did you see me run Recon with a bolt-action rifle?
not that often. Or did I? I don't remember.
It was very rare.
Yeah.
If I was ever playing Recon, it was always I was frontline suppressed and just pointing people out and taking flanking routes. And that's a class that I found excelled at that role. While it couldn't support itself, if I ever would catch damage or anything like that, I was certainly in trouble. But that being said, like the ability to find a niche spot somewhere and plop down a spawn beacon real quick and throw a tugs up or throw some Pokeballs around to spot enemies, that was always the good way to rack up points too and help, especially in those tight maps. So yeah, I'm with you on that I don't think the classes should be completely restricted to what weapons they can carry. That being said, I don't necessarily want to see a Recon running around with an LMG. That's kind of much, you know what I mean? But, why not at the same time, I guess.
Yeah, so, those are the general classes. We have no idea if the next Battlefield game have restricted weapons, whatever. We don't know, we'll see. But usually that's the 4 classes we usually have. And there's general idea how the classes should perform. So, let's go with simple medic class. I mean, I don't have to, I think, explain to you, like assault/medic. It's a class that usually is...
Follow your teammates. Revive the ones that get killed. Throw medbags down in firefights. Throw medbags down in firefights. Throw medbags down in firefights. Throw medbags down in firefights.
Actually, you know what? Now I'm thinking about it. I don't know if that gameplay is healthy. So basically, if you're playing as a medic or assault class, and they have medkits, Ray is right. Every time you fight, throw a medkit around the corner. Like, if you're at a choke point,
every fucking time you stop behind cover, are you kidding me? Just throw a damn medbag down.
So every time you're behind cover, you're getting shot, and you're about to get shot, throw a medkit, like literally at your teammates, at yourself, because it does help. Because the reason why medkits exist is to help heal your teammates faster. You do have your health regenerates over time, yes, but because you have a medkit next to you, it literally is just faster. It's just that faster. That's what wins you games in Breakthrough. That's what wins you games in Rush. Because if you can heal faster and you can, push, because that means you can push faster. While teaming.
Not just that. It's not just the ability in order to push too. You could that is also pivotal in holding ground.
Yeah. You're right, and you're not dying.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm not. It's my allergens and mucus and nasty things running down the back of my throat. It's disgusting.
Okay.
Let's not go there. So, moving on to the support class, a class that again
you missed engineer.
We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
Support class. So again, much like medics, follow your teammates around. Throw down suppressive fire whenever you see somebody shooting at a specific area. Throw down ammo bags at firefights. Throw down ammo bags at firefights. Throw down ammo bags at firefights. Throw down ammo bags at firefights.
Yeah, you get points. You help teammates and everything. Yeah, it's like if you can regenerate your grenades faster, in a choke point or whatever, just keep. You have a support class throwing ammo. Just keep knocking those grenades. Keep throwing those explosives. Keep throwing
Underslung grenade launchers, gadgets, everything. I mean, ammo bags respawn, all of that stuff over time in most of the games. And here's another pro tip for both the medic and the support class players: pay attention to your minimap once in a while. Because occasionally you might see this little annoying icon blink once in a while, and you have
not
no
even
fucking
once in a
clue what
while.
that is.
No-
If you see that, just throw a med bag or an ammo bag down real quick. Just do it. Doesn't matter where you're at. If you're running even in the middle of a field, just do it. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, and use your minimap a lot because, yeah, suppresses hide you from the minimap as any other game, I presume. And
There's no way to stop you from being visually seen.
okay, I'm gonna mention the in miscellaneous thing part later. But basically, yeah, if you're medic or support, yeah, throw med kits, throw ammo packs, whatever the case may be, throw at your teammates, throw at yourself, because that's the point. It helps you to regenerate your health faster, it gets your ammo faster back, and so on, whatever the case may be. It just helps you either defend or push, with more ease.
Part of the resource management thing, because it's not
Yeah.
just spawn tickets that you have to manage, it's your ammo as well, and everything. Resupplies are mostly solely come from your teammates. You can't pick ammo up off of bodies unless you switch weapons. It's a thing. There's no scavenger perk in Battlefield, and that was always a thing that I liked too, because then you have to make the determination whether you want to take and pop off and mag dump at somebody who's like a fucking 150 yards out with iron sights rifle and hope to God one of your 30 rounds will catch a freaking headshot and a kill, or you could QQQ the guy and give a spot for your teammates to the area that he's running to, and somebody else out there will probably cap him off with less ammo used a lot quicker, and there might be reinforcements behind that guy that you're firing at, and now you've warned your team of a possible attack coming from that route. And instead of you mag dumping at one guy and then drawing those 4 guys at you, you have now you've helped your teammate out. So discretion and things of that nature can really help out more in the long run than a lot of people think.
Sorry, I was just replying to a message. Actually, as you mentioned about pick your fights as a medic or assault or support class. Pick your fights because, like Ray said, you might be shooting a guy, but you don't realize there might be his teammates behind him. Or they just spawned, whatever the case may be, because you can spawn on your teammate. Okay, so in squads, right? Because when you play in a Battlefield game, you're in a squad usually up to 4 or 5 people depending on the game, and you can spawn on your teammates. And because you can spawn on your teammates, that means it's easier to push to certain flags or objectives, whatever the case may be. But when you're finding the enemy players, you have to predict that they might be spawning on that player. So when you shoot a player, how do you know his teammates haven't spawned behind him? So you kind of have to predict that and expect, some sort of confrontation, unless you can take on that fight. But you have to be careful which fights to pick. And there's no shame. I have to sometimes give it to the players, like give this advice to certain players. There's no shame sometimes to pick a fight. Let them pass. It's fine. Let a guy pass, 2 guys pass, whoever the case may be. Sometimes.
But at the very least, fucking spot them.
Yes. So every time you play any class whatsoever, you have to spot them. And why I say by spot them, there's usually a button on on PC. It's usually the Q button on the keyboard and the mouse. On control,
That's where the term QQ comes from, by the way, because you don't just press it once.
spam,
You
yeah.
spam that shit.
Yeah, QQ spam. And I don't know what's on the controllers.
I think sometimes it's usually like the select button. I remember that in case. But look up what your mapping is, because I would strongly suggest that some people maybe consider remapping that button to other things, because one other pro tip that I give out is spot then shoot. Always. Because if you can't bring that guy down, and maybe, again, another situation where that spot can come in handy for your teammates is if you happen to spot a group, or you spot one person out of a group, and that one guy brings you down, you've now, again, alerted your team to that position, and you've potentially drawn your teammates' attention to that point. So the one thing I always recommend is when I play on PC, I have I kind of cheat. I use a mouse that has multiple buttons on it and allows different mappings and shit. But there's a button right there next to my left click button when I fire that I always got into the habit. I'd just hover my finger over both of those buttons so that whenever I'd ADS and go to fire, I would simultaneously spot and fire at the same time. And that improves things a lot dramatically because it always helps your teammates to know what the fuck it is you're shooting at.
Yeah, and for the people that no idea what we mean by spotting. So basically what spotting, when you press a Q button or whatever the key you have for spotting on controller or mouse or keyboard, whatever the case may be, what happens is when you look at the player, enemy player, and you spot them, there's like a red, we call it red Dorito. A red Dorito appears above their head, and that means they're spotted. And when they're spotted, every teammate, every player on your team can see that player.
And usually it lasts for about anywhere from 30 to 45 seconds. It helps. It's
is it
handy.
that long? No, it's not that long.
No, I mean there are
seconds,
some
10
games where it's
seconds.
like 15 seconds. No, it's not that short.
Is it?
It's longer than that. I'm pretty sure on Battlefield 4 it was like 30 seconds.
No way it was 30 seconds.
Yes.
Really? Fuck.
Yes.
Anyway, so
That's why spotting was so fucking OP.
maybe it
Spotting
was.
is,
I haven't played
spotting
Battlefield
is one of the
4
most
for
OP
ages, yes.
things that you can do in this game. Just if all you want to do is just roam around the outskirts of a firefight and throw fucking tugs and pokeballs into a firefight and just QQQ spam it shit, you could rack up points really easily because you're still helping your team out. You're telling them where they are. That's recon.
Okay, so yes, what class you playing? Spot the enemy players, because sometimes there's no shame in not engaging the fight. Let them pass, but spot them so your friendlies can know that the enemy players are coming, and you would assume that your friendlies will pick them up, while you can go towards the objective, doing flank them, whatever the case may be. Because sometimes the best thing is not to engage because you don't know how many players are there, whatever the case may be. Maybe there's a tank. Like we keep forgetting.
Vehicles, definitely. If
We
you
keep
if you
forgetting.
see a vehicle, spot the vehicle. If the vehicle is not spotted, spot the vehicle. Always spot the vehicle.
Every time you see a tank, a jet, or a helicopter, spot them because your friendly engineers can actually know what the enemy vehicle is, and they can go and destroy that tank or whatever the case may be. Keep spotting vehicles, it's really important. Keep spotting everything because it gives information to your teammates, it gives information to you, and the more information you have, the easier it is to control the match and control the flags and everything, because you can control.
Not just that, don't just QQ. The other thing is even if the thing has already been spotted, respot it. Keep spotting the thing.
Yeah.
Because it refreshes the timer. If you've got a vehicle, if somebody spots a vehicle and they're well away from you and that vehicle is approaching you and you need to take cover to keep from being spotted by that vehicle, then do this. Crouch down, stay out of cover, let the icon pass, and as soon as the vehicle can't see you anymore, respot it again.
Yep.
Update the
Good
position on it, essentially.
Yep. Good
That's
advice.
where things like tactics and like there are things that apply in Milsim that can easily apply in Battlefield. That's where those tastes and those touches come into play. Communication is king. Communication is paramount. Squad play is more OP than people realize for these reasons.
Yeah. So we talked about assault, medic, support class. Do you want to go engineer or recon?
I'll talk about recon, considering I used to do a lot
Okay,
of
I'll talk
recon was a
engineers
class
last,
I used to
yeah.
play a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, because you were mostly a vehicle driver, so that's forgivable. I flew when my vehicle play was flying, mostly jets, and helicopters more or less later on when I got access to a controller on PC. And I know there's some people out there that are just gonna go boo. Well, you can get over it because when I played Battlefield 4, hell, I still do it to this day. I do both. I play with both a mouse and a controller simultaneously. Har, har, har.
Yeah,
Get
that's
over
still
it.
weird to me.
It's not weird. It's amazeballs. And I am done giving that secret out for people. It's great. It's nice to be able to walk.
I'm beyond judging.
That being said, Recon is a very overpowered class because of that specific reason that Recon can be used in order to constantly spot enemies. There are some gadgets, for the most part, that is consistent throughout the Recon class. You'll have what's referred to as a tugs or a placeable locator beacon that you could just you drop it. It stays there stationary, and it constantly spots enemies in a radius around it. These things are handy in order to put around MCOMs and stuff like that in Rush. Recon is a class I play a lot in Rush for these reasons. Then you also have the throwable version of it. In Battlefield 4, they were referred to as Pokeballs because they literally were just balls that you would throw, and they would do the exact same function as a placeable.
Battlefield 2042 has Pokeballs.
Oh, they
it's
do?
For the recon classes, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
then that's a
forgot-
familiar thing
yeah.
because I know in Battlefield 1 and 5 it changed to like flares. You had a shootable flare that would fly out and spot targets.
It was Battlefield 1, right?
Yeah, Battlefield 1 introduced that one.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then I think
yeah.
5 did the same thing or something similar. But 5 kind of changed recon in a way that I stopped playing the class in 5. I mostly played assault and support in that in 1 and 5. But that being said, in 4, the way I would always play 4 and 22, obviously, because both of these can apply. Again, spawn beacons. Don't place them somewhere right next to a firefight where there's going to be a lot of enemy traffic. That's just stupid and that's a waste, to be perfectly honest. You need to find obscure places to put these things. You need to find niche places to put these things. If you're wanting to rush a flag and you happen to be the only one in your squad in vicinity, or you've taken the flanking route in order to go a different route than your squad, do not draw attention to yourself before you place these things, 1, and 2, when you do place them, again, place them in a spot that is not only obscure and far enough away from the flag that the enemy wouldn't immediately think that that's where that thing is, but follow the rule that once your squad spawns in on that thing initially, run your ass off to a different spot, not too far away from where that original spot is, and drop another one. Change up where you're originally coming from.
Can you
Make it
drop
harder
two?
for the enemy to figure out where you're putting them down.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. As in, like, yeah. So when you spawn on the spawn beacon, and your teammates, who's a support class, can throw an ammo pack at you. You get the spawn beacon back. The spawn beacon that you place is still up. So when you go to a different place, you put the spawn beacon again. The old one gets destroyed. The new one appears because you placed the
Right.
new one. And then
Alternatively, you're in the life that you dropped that beacon. What you could do, as well as, and this involves actually keeping track of things. If you find that your entire squad spawned from that and then attacked a flag from that vector, spawn in on the flag itself, because 9 times out of 10 it'll put you at a different spot, and then use that advantage because now your enemy is looking where the rest of your squad mates are coming from, pop in from an opposite direction, and drop another one down. Use that to your advantage as well. And then rush the enemy from behind them as well. If you can get these things accomplished relatively quickly and you're running suppressed and you're not drawing attention to yourself, you could do really well and help your team out a lot. Your team could get stuck and hold them down real quick. You throw your beacon down, throw a tugs it, or throw something at where the flag is to get recon going, and then just dominate from behind if you're good enough and quick enough with your shots. Put yourself behind cover first, of course. Don't try and gun them down in open cover, but you know what I mean. There are ways to play recon that doesn't involve just sitting off at the corner of the map with a bolt-action rifle trying to pluck off headshots for 500,000-600,000 points at a shot. I mean, that's certainly a playstyle you can do, but it gets boring personally.
Yeah, you're not achieving anything, honestly. Yeah, sure, a nice clip, but at the end of the day, you don't achieve anything.
Unless you're spotting, you're not really achieving anything.
So, if you're playing a recon and you have the spawn beacon, and you're playing Conquest, my advice that always gave to players, like, that don't know what they're doing, whatever, like, just probably haven't, like, don't really know the strategies, if you can flank around to the enemy enemy first flag. So, the way the maps are designed in Conquest, usually, like, your first home flag, you can capture really easily, and then you fight for the middle flags as time goes on. So if you can flank through this, all the chaos, all the, enemy players or whatever, if you can flank around and just try to harass the enemy home flag that is the closest to their spawn base, if you can place a beacon somewhere, right? And you're just placing the beacons again, or just placing one beacon, doesn't matter. As long as the beacon is up, you can keep spawning on that beacon and keep attacking their home flag. And the more you attack the home flag until you capture it, even if you don't capture it, that's fine. That means it drags the players away from the middle of the map back to their home flag to defend it.
Is a very, very, very handy tactic in order to use if you're trying to draw your enemy away from a concentrated point. This tactic works exceptionally well in like locker and metro and straight line maps like that, and in just any map in general. Excuse me, because chances are the enemy's going to immediately spawn on the flag, or they're going to immediately spawn at base and come at you from a different angle. But for the most part, you're still pulling them away from where the primary fight is. Maybe you're pulling a squad away from that's trying to attack another flag that's currently yours so that they can try and keep theirs. Or eventually they're going to have to try to come back and get it if you take it. So still assets are going to be diverted in order to try and do that.
Yep. So, wait, sorry, I'm just sending a message because my messenger was not working. Right. So
That's silly.
Well, yeah, I know, and that's the advice I have for players that want to attack, their home flag, enemy home flag and everything. So, of course, spotting and everything. You have tools to spot enemies, rangefinder, pokeballs.
Lambs, lasers. Like if you have a team now, these some gadgets that recons carry work exceptionally better when you have audio communication with the rest of your squad, like laser designators. Those things tend to work very well when you can talk to your engineer, because you almost need to work in tandem for those things to work properly. It's almost like working an actual javelin crew or an actual artillery crew. It's you can play to that advantage. Same thing with mortars. A good mortar operator with a freaking armor with an ammo bag who can stay a good distance away for a hot bit, and a recon with a spotting drone, exceptionally OP combination. These are things that, again, like, it's one thing I've always said about Battlefield is it's not that you get kill streaks. You can be the kill streak if you play your cards right with the game. So it does not matter. Infantry that's on the ground constantly spotting infantry for even a vehicle, great, because now your infantry fighting vehicle can spot the infantry and, infantry fight. If you're on the ground as an infantry person and you're spotting a tank, well, you're alerting another tank driver to a position of an armor so that they can engage or possibly not get engaged by it. Like, maybe that tank is sneaking up on one of your tanks trying to get a back shot going, and now you've alerted your tank driver to something that's going on. Like, teamwork is truly the most overpowered weapon that these games have in common. It's not a gun, it's not a gadget, it's not one element. It's all of the elements working in harmony for these things in order to work the way that they should work. And that's the beautiful thing about these games. And once players figure this out, when you get into these series, once you figure this out, it's amazing, and you'll never find anything else like it.
Yeah, that's actually true. Like we talking this episode, we're trying to cover all the basics for new players, because people don't know how to play the Battlefield games, wherever they get confused and so on, because big map, big vehicles and so on. I understand it can get intimidating at first. It's not like, I'm not shitting on Call of Duty. I love Call of Duty. I play Call of Duty. But you understand what needs to be done in Call of Duty. So we're trying to kind of the same thing. It can be intimidating going from 6-on-6 Call of Duty map to a big-ass Battlefield map. I get that. That can be intimidating. So that's kind of the idea. So we're trying to focus on the basics and everything. Focus on yourself. If you can focus on yourself and take care of yourself, the team will come. You will learn that teamwork is such an important thing. You place the beacon. Your teammate spawns as a support class, throws ammo, you got the beacon back again, or you get more Pokeballs, you replenish your spotting tools, whatever the case may be. That makes the game more fun if you can cooperate with your teammates and everything for that, because classes are there to complement each other. And when all classes are working together in sync, it's the best Battlefield experience you ever you can have in your life. It's just the best thing ever. Ray, do you need to quickly go? I can talk about the engineer. Okay, I'll talk about engineer. You just let me know when you're back. So basically, that's the recon class. Let's talk about the engineer. Engineer class is basically anti-vehicle class. You have your explosives, RPGs, repair tools. Again, we talked about repair tool. Could be support class, could be engineer. But usually the most popular class, the DICE developers on 2042, they changed that for 2042. Maybe it was Battlefield 2042 that changed it to support class. So usually engineers have everything that's anti-vehicle, but it's that you also help your teammate's vehicle, or when you're in a vehicle yourself. So usually my style is, because I'm usually a tank guy, I'm a vehicle guy. If I'm running a vehicle like a tank, I usually pick the engineer class. And for that is because as an engineer class, I can repair my vehicle. You do get automatic repair on vehicles like in any, like your infantry player. But it's not fast enough, And if you're engineer class, that means you can repair yourself when you're in damage. So take cover, push back a little bit, take, cover behind the wall, whatever, get out, use your repair tool as an engineer and repair your tank, that kind of stuff. I personally, that's what I do. So if I'm playing as a vehicle class, playing as a tank, whatever, I pick the engineer class because I can repair my tank. I can do some, like, even my tank is, for example, is destroyed and I can't repair it, and maybe by some stupid chance I survive that fight, but my tank gets destroyed. I'm an engineer class. I have RPG with me. That means I can shoot the last, I can shoot the RPG at the enemy tank, whoever they kill me, because I'm assuming the tank that killed me is already somewhat damaged from me, because we win a fight. So we have a tank battle, whatever the case may be, and he won that fight. I assuming he doesn't have any engineers behind him to repair him, I assume the tank that I was fighting is low health. That means if I survive this fight somehow, I can get out, take some cover, whatever the case may be, take out my RPG quickly, or whatever rocket launcher I have, and shoot at the enemy tank and kill the tank. In that case, yes, we both lost our tanks, but who survived? Who died? He died from that RPG because he was low health. One shot with RPG shot and he's down. That's it. The vehicle's gone. You technically won the fight. They lost the ticket unless the enemy player gets revived. But usually that's why it is with engineer class. So the engineer class is really good in vehicle type of stuff. Also, as a engineer trying to hunt for enemy vehicles, you have to be more. Don't just run straight at the enemy tank or whatever the case may be. So I'm not focused on the air vehicles because it's a completely different story right now. Because you do get anti-air equipment in that kind of stuff. But don't run at the enemy tanks as an engineer. Yes, run at them, because the closer you get, that means you can get, if you go behind them and shoot them in the back, that's their weak spot. Usually with Battlefield games, vehicles have a weak spot. So if you can shoot into their weak spot that is behind them, you can flank them and whatever, and you shoot them in the back, they're disabled. And because they're disabled, you can do another pop shot at them and maybe even kill the tank. So it usually takes 3 missiles, like two rockets. And you kind of reload them really quickly, depending what weapon you're using. But yeah, just don't...
You can usually cheat and get a pickup weapon real quick, too.
Oh,
and
that
get a
too,
cheesy
yeah.
first shot off. I used to do that all the time. Just make sure you have your launcher equipped first before you pick up the pickup weapon. That way, when you run out of ammo for the pickup weapon, you'll immediately switch to your launcher, and you can get a quick second shot off, which is very handy in order to do.
Yeah.
Like the AT-40 you could pick up in 4. Oh, yeah, I was infamous for doing that. Anyway,
but as engineer,
the other trick, I don't know if you went over this or not real quick, the other trick that you could do is sometimes if both you and the enemy tank are, like, seriously hurting really
I
bad.
That, I mentioned that,
you just you trick them to get out of their own tank and fucking shoot them, steal their tank, run off, repair it real quick, and then fucking blow your own tank up real quick.
No, I mentioned the part where me and another guy have a tank battle, and let's say I lose my tank but survive. I can take out my RPG quickly and take cover and just shoot him and kill him. Because I presume he's like, oh yeah, I just killed this tank. Let me move a little bit forward, whatever. He doesn't expect that I just come out of my tank and just straight up take
surprise with a rocket launcher.
Surprise, I mean, sure, a good player will predict that the player is playing as engineer class in a vehicle, but you never know. Stuff happens. And
the funniest part thing is literally tricking somebody and jumping out of their own tank to steal it. That is arguably one of the most funniest things, the most fun things I ever do.
We can talk about it in the vehicles section later on.
Yeah, we'll get more involved with that. That is though that is an infantry trick, but it is still very, very much a vehicle trick too.
So regarding engineers, don't run at the enemy vehicles straight. Try to go around them, flank them, because if you go straight, you're not gonna do much, because you're gonna do one rocket shot, the enemy tank will gonna look at you, just say, what are you trying to do, motherfucker? And he's gonna shoot you in the face. There's no point. So try to go around them, try to go shoot them from the side, and this is important. As an engineer class, and you're fighting a vehicle, like some sort of a tank or a Bradley, whatever the case may be, do not stay in one spot. As soon as you shoot that tank with your rocket, whatever the
Move.
case may be. Move. Change directions. Try to be quick.
Even if you have teammates around you, move.
Move. Because the enemy tank or whatever the case may be, the driver will look at that location. It will try to find you. He will be focused on that area. But if you can move quickly, he will not expect you to go from the left or right side. Sure, a good player will predict that, but usually on an average player, they will be not quick enough to realize that that you already moved. So as soon as you shoot one rocket, move to a different location.
I'm going to say that 99.99999% of the time, that soon as you engage a tank with an RPG, the very first place a tank shell is going to come flying, unless there is another tank already engaged said tank, the first place a tank shell is going to be coming is right at that position, guaranteed. And cover will not save you. Walls go boom in these games. Walls can go bye-bye in these games. There's no such thing as getting away with corner camping in these games for the most part. So,
Most part, yeah.
that being said, just move. Stick and move strategies in general in this game. If you engage somebody loud and your position is given away, as soon as you're done shooting and you should realize that your blip is off the minimap, fucking move. Because that's where they're going to come next. Move.
Yep.
Being static
of
and
course,
staying still in this game can be a death sentence sometimes.
Of course, engineer class, like I already mentioned, you can repair your vehicles. You can repair your vehicle. You can repair enemy players. So you can repair friendly tanks and everything. So of course, like Ray.
Pilots that are good enough can get repaired in older in like the older Battlefield games too. Like that was
you can do
another
it
trick people
2042.
would do. Is
You can do that, yeah.
you
Yeah,
can too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you're skilled enough and you're able to land and repair your shit, then you can dominate.
Yeah. So if you're engineer class and always like if you see a friendly tank engaging someone and they're in front of the tank, go behind the tank. Don't be on the side. Don't be on like whatever. Take cover behind the tank. If you're repairing the tank, like wherever the fight is happening, right? If the fight is happening on the left and the tank is like your friendly tank is shooting to the left, you usually stand behind where the turret is because you're not gonna take the damage from the enemy players. Because usually what happens, like when you have a player fixing the tank behind all this firefight, like hiding behind the tank, you shoot the tank, right? And you see the health bar is still going up, right? You lowered it, but it's slowly going back up. That means there's a repair, we call it repair monkey. That means an engineer is behind the vehicle repairing while you're damaging
Clung to it like a monkey, repairing it.
Yeah, while you're damaging the tank. If that happens, I usually recommend to disengage and change location and try to maybe go around and try to kill the engineer, because at that point you can't kill the tank unless you have
you're
another
fighting
tank.
basically an invincible tank, and the effect stats too in some cases. So
Yeah.
like two engineers repairing a tank, that tank is damn near invincible.
Yeah.
Oh
my god.
You
Yeah.
cannot,
If you have two
you
engineers
cannot
fighting,
output enough DPR in order to overcome the repairing. Same thing goes with like scout helos and transport helicopters. If there is a spot on the model that you can hit with a repair tool, guess what? You can repair it from inside the transport chopper, scout chopper. That combo was OP as hell back in the day. They had to fix it so that like only one repair tool could work at a time on the scout chopper. Like that's how bad.
Oh god,
it
I
was.
remember that. Yeah. I forgot about
But
that.
like it's a ridiculously OP combo that even somebody hanging out the side with a fucking soft lock for anti-air, and with a good, assault rifle or a carbine with a good mag amount could clean up effectively, like and still repel air attacks while the scout chopper pilot is busy engaging on the ground. But again, that's a vehicle tactic we'll cover later. We're just touching on it because this is a thing that engineers do. This is a role they fulfill. Support classes. Did you know that in Battlefield 4, and I'm pretty sure even newer games, your med bags and your support bags will actually stick to vehicles?
Oh yes,
you know?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
They stick to vehicles. So now let's put it in our brains here. We have a scout helicopter with two repair torches, with a repair torch on it, and somebody else who's focusing on anti-air, with a support ammo bag stuck in the middle of it, and a med bag nonetheless. Now you have created just a monster. You can do this with even the transport helos. It's not as effective because they can't move as fast, but still. These are things you can do.
I'm thinking what else we can cover about the classes, honestly, because we kind of covered all the generic stuff about the classes.
Some of the rest of the stuff is stuff that you guys got to kind of learn as you go. Like we've kind of laid out a lot of the basics as far as what the classes go and some of the things that you can do with them when you master the basics. Again, it cycles right back to the exact same point over and over and over again with everything. That is the one consistent thing with everything. It's teamwork. Teamwork is what makes the dream work in these games. So you got to stick to your teammates. You've got to do things that not only help you score, but help your team win the match at the same time. It's not just who can kill who the fastest. Yes, in some cases, in some maps, that's how it goes, but far few and in between. Play the team play card. Play with your squad. Even if you are a solo type player, quote unquote, play with a squad still. That gives you spawn points at the very least. That gives you an extra set of eyes. That gives you the possibility that maybe your squad might see what you're attempting to do and try to help you do it. You might find that what you're doing is still helping them in some ways, but still do things in order to help the team out. It makes the game better for everyone. Even if you want to be that one, you want to be a run and gun player, you want to be an assault player who constantly just runs through into the firefights, guns blazing, trying to gun down everything in sight. Fine, cool, you can do that. And you can still throw a med bag down where your teammates are bunched up before you try and, Leroy Jenkins through a choke point into a firefight. You know what I mean? And even as a support player, you can do the exact same thing. Just throw a damn ammo bag down real quick. If you're going to haul ass through with a 200-round LMG and just try to hip fire everything like Arnold Schwarzenegger, my man, God bless you. And as an American, I love it as much as anybody else. Hell, if you figure out how to dual wield them in Battlefield 4, more power to you. It's the most fun thing in the world. But damn it, throw an ammo bag down first.
Yeah.
Throw a bag down where your guys are bunched up, because you'll see how much more points you'll rack up just getting quick resupplies off of everyone who have maybe recently just changed mags for 4 rounds. So you're still getting points on a resupply off of that. It doesn't matter how many rounds they resupply. You still get the same amount of points per resupply. Just do it.
Hey there, listener, me again. Sorry for interrupting you again, but if you're already this deep in this episode, I presume you enjoy our conversations. So why not check out our older episodes after you're done with this one?
Don't be a doobie.
Do a podcast of sort, right? We had some amazing conversations that are still relevant to this day, and we don't want you to miss them out. If you haven't already, go listen to our interview with big content creator you probably know, Westy for example, who was more than willing to have a conversation with us about Battlefield.
But then when you've got Angel screaming, "Angel does it again," and
that was something, right?
That was something. But you know what I mean? Like, the two didn't work. Like, you could have done specialists.
Or our recent interview with former DICE developer James Kono, who shared some amazing behind-the-scenes developer perspective on Battlefield franchise.
Listen to this podcast. It's awesome. I love Lanky. He's been a great resource to the Battlefield community for years now.
You're the only person that actually gave any compliment to me about anything regarding that. Long story short, we have some amazing episodes that are worth listening, and we're just happy that you're enjoying our discussions about Battlefield. And again, I want to thank you for listening, and please enjoy the rest of the discussion we're having right now. Also, as we discussed the classes and everything, a lot of people might be probably coming like from Call of Duty, for example, and saying like, well, but what weapon I should be using? See, because we don't know what the next Battlefield game will be regarding weapon stuff, I don't know if the weapons will be restricted to a specific class or not, but let's assume...
It's hard to say.
Yeah, we don't know. But let's assume they won't be restricted, let's say. Even the case may be. Even if they're restricted, doesn't matter. What weapons you should use? I will tell you right now, yes, there's metas. Yes, there's weapons that will be better than other ones. Yes. But what I recommend as a new player, usually, pick a weapon that you personally like, see what the stats are saying. You know, is it a long-range weapon, a short-range weapon, whatever the case may be. Because
fully automatic, is it semi-automatic? Is it 3-round burst? Because all 3 different types of those weapons, they behave differently.
It depends on the play style of your, like, how you want to play. So if you want to be an aggressive medic and so on, going around the corners, slide your way to victory, kill this player, move to a different direction. Like, if you want to be that, movement god type of player, which is really popular these days, if you want to be that, that's fine. Like, pick a SMG that's, like, comfortable for you, all that kind of stuff. That's fine. If you want to be more passive medic, pick your distances at, like, medium range, and help your teammates, revive behind behind the
Carry a
front.
shotgun if you want to, and try to be able to get quick hip shots off anybody who runs up to try and get you down. I mean, that's a helpful thing as well. If you want to be the silent type like I do, which applies to just about all the classes, there are ways to run stealth in just about all of the classes. 3-round burst rifles are king. It's really crazy.
At medium range,
I found out
usually.
At medium range, they are absurd. Same thing with, and I found even at long range, because the trick works the exact same way. People who don't like 3-round burst weapons, I feel, just don't understand how they're supposed to work. And
some of them are bad, though. Some of them.
Some of them, depending upon the recoil climb, though, are absolutely absurd. Like I found out with the A3 in Battlefield 4, which became my favorite rifle. I used to have some of the top kills in the whole entire game with that rifle because it was absurd with it. There was a trick to it where if you tried to core shot your first burst, your second burst would always be a headshot. Because I think the way the A3 was made is only the second shot was affected by recoil. So you would always have 2 shots on target, no matter what. So if you would go for a core shot and plant at least 2 of them accurately, that's at least 50 health that you would knock off. And with the recoil off of your second burst, it would jump up enough in order to catch a headshot most of the time. And you just pull the trigger again, and it's a quick kill. If you did this with a suppressed weapon, it was really easy in order to drop down squads, especially if you had good quick aim relatively fast. And it was stupid easy for me in order to do with. It was absurd with that rifle. So find things that play into your play style. That's the only really true answer to the question of what gun should I pick up. Same thing goes with sidearms too. Like, you might find that maybe having a revolver as a sidearm works a lot better. It's absurd. Think about it. Just try it. You might find out in some cases if you're getting ambushed and you're mid-reload and you need something quick in order to bring them down, a hip-fire shotgun or a hip-fire revolver with a laser pointer is fucking absurd sometimes.
Yeah, that's it all depends on your style. I'm not gonna tell you what weapon is the best and so on, because usually there's no point talking about that, because you might have a different playstyle. Because that's the thing about Battlefield. Like in Call of Duty, it's kind of easy to determine what weapon is best, because it's usually more, what's the word I'm looking for? More predictable, more is the word pragmatic? I don't know.
I would say the highest DPR is usually the one that's the meta king.
No recoil, highest DPR. Yeah. Whatever. It's easy to predict what's the meta going to be in Call of Duty because it's a more predictable game. In Battlefield, all playstyles are usually okay. As in, when I say okay, they're effective in some shape or form. So you can run an assault rifle, SMG, whatever the case may be. Of course, SMGs won't have the distance or whatever case may be, of course, unless it's a broken SMG, but that's not the point.
It's gonna stay.
Yeah.
There have been some SMGs over the years that behave exclusively like assault rifles, but at their core design, they're based off of assault rifles anyway. So, So
it all depends on the play style. Just play around with the weapons. See, that's fine. Play with the weapons, see what you like, what kind of play style, just see what works for you. It's like, don't worry about stats, don't worry about dying, whatever the case may be. Don't be afraid to experiment. It's not that serious, it's not a competitive match, even though I love to have 5-on-5 Battlefield games and so on, because they're really cool. Battlefield Incursions, anyone knows. Like, if you're still listening and you're someone a Battlefield veteran and still listening just for the curiosity what we're gonna say, Battlefield 1 Incursions, all I'm gonna say. It all depends on the playstyle. Just play around, experiment, see what you like. There's no shame of trying anything new. No one cares about your stats. Don't worry, no one cares.
Try it all.
Yeah,
seriously.
try it all. Just have
One
fun.
thing that I always found was the most fun when it came to Battlefield 4 was putting the work in order to be able to unlock a weapon. Unlocking the weapon, finding it dog shit at the beginning, but because I try to unlock as much things as I can for things, I actually run with the gun, play with it a little bit, adapt to it, and find that it's actually not a bad gun, and it's not the gun that's bad. It's just me not. It's just not. It's not doing what I need it to do for that specific playstyle. So, sometimes like the Scar H in some cases. Like, that rifle is not really a close-range rifle. It never really has been. It never will be. Why? Because, again, it's a heavy-hitting, slow rate-of-fire rifle. That thing is effective at mid-range. Great. Because it's a good way in order to plan a couple of shots real quick, tight group, easy-peasy, lemon-squeezy. Whereas if you get into a close-range fight with it, that slow rate of fire, now you have to seriously rely on your aim and try like hell to get a headshot. Otherwise, that guy with an SMG is more than likely going to down you.
Yeah.
And on the opposite side of the spectrum with SMGs, you're not going to hit many good targets at range for the most part. But at close range, at hip firing, that's where they excel.
So yeah, that's weapons. Not much to say. Just pick whatever you like. See what your game style is. For the last 10 minutes, I guess we can just quickly mention vehicles because it is a big part of Battlefield. But again, this is a
We're gonna get way more extensive with these because just flying in general is one whole monster in of itself because there's ways that you can fly and be a menace, and it's not necessarily just being anti-air. You could be an amazing stealth jet fighter pilot and just be anti-air with guns only and be a very, very, very effective ground pounder and just knocking things down with laser-guided missiles, especially if you have somebody on the ground designating targets. That makes it tenfold easier because then all you got to do is just gain altitude real quick, put the target on fire, and forget.
Yeah, so vehicles is a completely different topic, but it's a beginner's guide. We're just going to tell you the basic stuff, because you never play Battlefield, you want to get better, whatever the case may be. So we're just gonna go the generic stuff. So let's say ground vehicles, like let's say tank, right, or a Bradley or a Abrams, whatever the case may be, right? Because I usually run tanks and I'm pretty good at it. I'm just gonna say this: when you're in a tank, it feels like you're in a in a tank, right? That's the point. Like, you're in a tank. The point is to push on objectives and take all the damage and you have high power of weaponry, whatever the case may be. But you have to remember, it's so easy to kill you when you push an objective as a solo in a vehicle. Let's say you're in a tank and you push an objective. If you're in a really tight corner, you're extremely exposed. I'm not saying you should be camping everything, but because you're in such a tight corner, it's so easy for infantry players, like engineer classes and everything, to, remember when I told you, shoot a tank, move to a different location? It becomes so much easier to do that in a really tight objective area. So
not just that. The more the tighter of a space you put yourself in a vehicle, the more you expose yourself to potentially somebody jumping out with, let's just say, C4.
Yeah,
or
the popular way
mines.
to kill. Yeah, popular way to kill vehicles in Battlefield. Some guy running at you with C4 and you can't kill him fast enough. That's alright. He just already threw the C4 on you. You're dead. If you die,
you're done.
Yeah.
Unless you can unless you can gun them down that quick, it's very hard to do. So in urban environments and stuff like that, that's where discretion comes into play. If you're on the ground and you're in a tank or an IFV or anything like that, keeping yourself mobile, keeping yourself out in the open, keeping yourself from being static is what's going to help you the most.
Yes.
Because not only that, if you find yourself stuck in an urban environment, it's very easy in order to get lock spammed because you can't get out of it quickly enough. You can't.
And there's 4 or 5 rockets coming your way from 2 engineers to engineers. Yeah, you're just going to die almost instantly. So
and then suddenly that tank you were chasing comes out of nowhere and gets the final shot. Yep.
Yeah, so the point with ground vehicles, try to minimize the areas where you might be exposed. I'm not telling you to camp on the hill and just keep doing pot shots. You're not doing anything with that. But
well, I mean, you can, if depending upon how good you are with it and how bunched up the enemy is, because I have done, it is possible in order to, because let's be real here, the way tanks are ran in Battlefield 4, they are not fucking ran that way in real life.
The problem with the camping vehicles.
The moral of the story here, though, is that they can do both roles, but just again, like bolt action sniper rifle people, you've got to be really fucking good at it.
That too, but also the camping vehicle thing became an issue in the last 2 games. Funny enough, because tanks became slower and they became more. heavy.
Well, attrition came in, so they started being ran like how armor is usually ran. Armor's not usually ran frontline stuff like I was saying. It's not ran the way we do it in Battlefield. But again, these are points that we'll get into more when we actually do the vehicle
that's
episodes.
a different topic entirely. Yeah.
Because even camping vehicles, if there's air support, that's not even really a problem either, technically.
Yeah. So, yeah, make sure that you minimize all the exposed areas, pick your fights don't just pick any fight. If you see two engineers looking at you and you're already taking pot shots from them, and maybe
just move
and
get out.
And there's a vehicle coming around the corner or something like that, do not take that fight. Do the smart thing. You have smokes, you have and some sort of defensive measures, like you have smoke, you have I forgot what's it called, ATS, active protection, APS.
Active protection.
Whatever the case may be,
have
any
smoke,
defense,
you could have chaff,
yeah, just to protect yourself. So if if you already that you're getting smacked by engineers, don't force it. You're just gonna die. So also I have to mention
while we're on
this.
the topic of not wasting vehicles,
exactly.
unless that thing is down to 2 health, don't get out of it.
Exactly what I was going for. So if you're a tank driver or a ground tank, like mostly for tanks, because tanks more valuable than, let's say, a transport vehicle, some sort of, who cares about that transport vehicle. When it comes to tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, Bradleys, all that kind of stuff, right? If you're one of the drivers, do not leave the vehicle if you're take 1 shot, 2 shots, and it's 40%, 30%, and you expect it to die. You know what? At that point, if you know you're gonna die,
Just go down with it.
Just go down with it. Do not leave the vehicle unattended. If you leave the vehicle,
because they can be stolen.
Enemy players can kill you as you're out, and they can steal your vehicle. And if there's engineer,
and then go get it, repair their teammates.
Yeah, if there's
once
engineer
their team
nearby,
I
repair the
promise you,
vehicle
once
and-
their team sees an enemy tank that's stolen, that thing is going to be the most protected thing on the entire map for the rest of the fucking game. And it will probably sit somewhere where it won't be easy for anybody to get at. And how do I know this? Because I used to do it all the damn time proudly, and I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm
if
fucking
you can
infamous for stealing vehicles.
Yeah, if you can steal the enemy vehicle, a jet or a tank, whatever, you keep that shit with you and you protect it with all your heart, because that means they have a disadvantage. You have more vehicles on your side.
You don't fight with it unless you have extreme amounts of support, and I do mean heavy amounts of support. You fall back to a captured flag and you just kind of hang out and help guard that.
Yeah.
Somewhere where you are constantly getting foot traffic from your friendlies. And for the most part, you will probably see a lot more friendly foot traffic around you once that's noticed and it gets around. Because it's hilarious. It's awesome when it happens.
Yeah. So do not give your vehicle to the enemy players. I seen people do it in Delta Force. So you damn well know it's going to happen in the next Battlefield game.
It will always be a thing.
Yeah. Do not give your vehicle to the enemy players.
Because the funny thing is you start hearing the woot woots at 40% health, and the funny and you're not dying from fire attrition yet. When you're down at 10%, that's when the risk becomes acceptable in order to get out. Personally speaking, I like single digit risks. I get down to 5.
Yeah. You have if you actually want to do that and try to survive, like I said, because I did say earlier, if you're an engineer and you're about to die and you get out and you do a pot shot at the tank with your RPG, yes, if you know, you have to be really calculative. If you know you're about to die, you know your vehicle's gonna die in the next second. Yes, you have to time it and everything. But that comes with skill. That comes with practice, all that kind of stuff. You have to play for a while to understand. To feel the game, right? To feel what's gonna happen. As a beginner, I'm not expecting you to instantly know what to do, right? That's the thing. But like I said, under no circumstance, just make sure that they will never steal your vehicle. Because if you lose that vehicle and the enemy players have your vehicle, you're pretty much fucked for the rest of the match. Unless they're so bad,
it gets destroyed.
Yeah.
Unless they're bad with it, or it immediately gets destroyed. Which, I mean, in some cases it can happen, but just don't risk it. Don't let it
risk it. So, pick
I
your fights.
think that's about as. I think we've covered a good bit of grounds on that one. I think if we go any further with this, we might as well start the other episode up.
Yeah, I don't want to make it too long. Just go pick your fights, be careful, minimize the exposure and so on, and don't give your vehicles away and so on. Because again, it's another topic, everything, but just keep it simple, right? Try to move around the map. Keep it try to move with your teammates, because if you have more support around, it makes it easier and so on, all that kind of stuff. When it comes to helis and jets, it's a completely different topic entirely. So, if you...
Yeah, I think we'll cover that on
I'm
its
just
own.
going to say
this. There's no real quick tips on that one.
Yeah, there's no
than
quick
just
tips, yeah.
Don't be
There's
useless.
only one, though.
And don't use them as taxis.
Yeah, do not use them as taxis. Look, I will only allow jets to use it as taxis if there's a good player, he has a plan. Like, maybe he wants to go to the enemy home flag or something like that. Sure, well, depending on the game mode, depending on what's the plan, sure. There's certain cases where I will accept jets being used as a taxis. Again, if that player has a plan and if I can trust him. Different story. But when it comes to helis and jets in general, there's no quick tips here, especially for Battlefield 4, for example. Even Battlefield 2042.
There's just so many diverse roles that they can fulfill. It's just too hard to cover in a short time span.
Even for 2042. But the only advice I can give you as a new player is find an empty server. Like, I'm pretty sure you can find an empty server on any of these games. Pick a vehicle.
Oh, yeah, spawn in and practice.
Yeah, spawn in a helicopter, spawn in a jet, because it's also about controls. What kind of control to use? You can't. Yeah, you might go in the settings, right, and change like, yeah, I like that, and so on. And when you play the game, when you spawn in the air vehicle, like, oh god, wait, no, I need to change something. Go on an empty server.
Yep, and now you've wasted a vehicle and a ticket and time, and that's why I push for the use of of test ranges being more prevalent, because like Battlefield 4 having a test range was probably one of the best things ever, because that was a great place and a great way in order to be able to practice flying, and you would be being able to target ground vehicles and air-to-air vehicles. Granted, they were just drones flying, but whatever. Still ways in order to practice gun runs and stuff like that. So I sincerely hope that that's a thing that comes back in the next title.
So yeah,
but practice as best you can. That's one of the things that comes with flying in these games. Excuse me. You're not going to just pick it up and dominate it immediately.
No, because
and I know there's some people out there who are going to be like, well, I've played fucking Ace Combat and DHS and not DHS, but fucking DCS. It's wildly different. It's not the same. It is a learning curve in of itself, because you have to get your controls set for how you like to fly, how you need to fly. You have you there's a lot of shit you got to get in order for that. And I strongly recommend using a controller.
Yeah, it depends on your playstyle. But you need to learn the speeds, the maneuverability, all that kind of stuff. You also have to remember, you're gonna hear in a vehicle, you're gonna hear a lot, beep 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 beep, beep, a lot. So you need to stay calm, understand where that beep 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 is coming from. Use the terrain for cover, especially for helicopters.
Use terrain, your altitude, use your countermeasures to your advantage, stick and move tactics, quick moving, especially if you're in an attack jet or a fighter jet. Transport helicopters, they're pretty much just cows. They're only really good if they're fully stocked and there's somebody actually on there repairing them and people actually are using it as one beacon. That's really the only good time those things are good. Ground transport vehicles as well too. There's APCs in Battlefield 4 that are really OP if they're stocked on people.
A good transport helicopter pilot with an engineer on the side becomes such a fortress and such a good spawn point. You can go around the whole map. Yeah, you'll take some pot shots, wherever you hear a lot, beep, 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 and so on. It's fine. If you have an engineer or two repairing it, you're basically helping your teammates so much, because you can fly around the map and you're basically creating a portable spawn point that is really fast, heavy in defense and everything. So if you can go through each flag, whatever the case may be, you basically become a spawn point for any teammate out there, and they can you create the whole playing field. It's just more accessible to you. That mean, if you keep that transport helicopter going. So that's what I mean. There's loads of there's loads of tactics you can use and everything. It's not really for beginners and so on. But if you want to learn how to fly them and so on, I just recommend go find an empty server, fly with the vehicles, change your controls and so on. That whatever the case may be. When you're comfortable in flying on an empty server, around the terrain, wherever the case may be, Then you can go on a match. You're comfortable with the controls. And of course, again, it's another learning curve because now you're going to hear shots coming your way. People going to be shooting, rockets flying your way. That's another learning.
You're going to have somebody else in an attack jet coming after you.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Things change. Do
Jets,
not
heli,
try to learn in a live
anti-air,
match.
whatever the case may be. It's another skill set that you need to think about. It's going to be another learning curve, all that kind of stuff. So yes, it's an entirely different topic. For example, I can't fly jets. Or helicopters, maybe. But jets, yeah, it's not my expertise. I can't say much, but I just know that if you really want to be good, just practice and practice and practice. Like, because it's just one of those like really sky skill gaps. I don't think you can make it easier because it's just it's the nature of the vehicle. It's the nature of the vehicle.
That's the thing that's going to be great about the vehicles episode is because between the two of us, like there's a good enough there's enough expertise in order to cover all of the vehicles. Because flying and mostly the fast moving vehicles was always my thing. You were always mostly into the tanks and shit like that. So like there is going to be a good amount of vehicle tips and tricks that's going to get laid out in the vehicle episode. But so I don't want to give too much more away because if we do, then there's no reason for them to listen to that one. So
and we've already been recording for an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah,
but,
it's been a bit long.
So,
but so if you yeah.
Yeah, so for conclusion, basically, I know there's some miscellaneous stuff that we can, for example, makes map knowledge, right? If the more you play, the more you will learn about the maps. You know, you will learn all the flow of the map. You know, all the objective. You know how the objective looks, how the locations, everything. Like, this building is there. Oh, you know, there's a staircase there. You know, there's something there. When you play more, you learn on the map. And when you learn the map, it kind of becomes easier to flank around, you know, to predict what the enemy players will be. So that comes
like a natural progression.
Yeah, it's a natural progression because as you go on, you learn the map, you know all this, you know, sweet spots or whatever the case may be. So you can predict what the players will be. So it's just playing and so on. And when you apply all these skills together and you just keep playing, you'll do just fine. You'll do great. And if you played other first-person shooters and shooting is not something new to you in first-person shooters, whatever the case may be, you'll be better. Like it's a different skill set, but it's just you need to just change the skill set a little bit from like other games, for example. It's a different game. It's a specific style, a specific formula that Battlefield offers, and yeah, it's just like that. It's just the basics. If you do the basics right, everything else will come naturally. That's all it is.
And we have faith in you, player base.
Yeah.
And that concludes episode 1 of Battlefield 1 Battlefield Academy.
Battlefield Academy.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, like some of the basic stuff. I mean, we can talk about, for the last 5 minutes, we can talk about the Patreon, you know. Ray, how
we need more support for that. We need more money for equipment upgrades because Microsoft is putting a gun to our heads. And when I say
tariffs,
our,
man, tariffs coming.
Yeah, there's that shit too. We're not gonna get into politics right now.
Yeah, I know, but
it's a fun time to be a centrist. That's all I'm saying.
Basically, I'm just gonna say this: like, for the last couple of months, our Patreon is doing really well. I wish it could do more well, of course, for obvious reasons, but the stuff we do on Patreon is really good. I personally enjoy what we're doing. For example, the last podcast we literally talked about the thread that was released by a former DICE developer, and we discussed what was said in that thread, and we talked about the finals because we forced Ray to play the finals, and there's some other stuff. I was making fun of Ray with Fortnite Godzilla and shit, Hatsune Miku lore, so that's that's funny. Yeah, we do some amazing episodes on Patreon that are exclusive to Patreon. If you enjoy this podcast, for example, you can subscribe to Patreon and get early access to, you know, future episodes ad-free. There's no ads or anything like that and all that kind of stuff. Also, I'm thinking, I have a bunch of game codes, Ray. I know some of them, but the rest I have no idea what kind of game codes I had. I know one of them is the new Dragon Age Veilguard, whatever it's called. If anyone wants it, I'm thinking in this upcoming month, this February month, right? 2025 February. I'm just thinking, if you're on Patreon, I'm just going to give you the code. Like, whoever's going to get the code first can redeem it. That's what I'm thinking. So I have a bunch of codes. So if you ever if you want to support us and just, or you actually enjoy what we do.
Tom's got so many game codes sitting around that we're going to try and tackle Epic's free game for a month store, but it's only going to be one person who's going to get the game, and we have no fucking clue what game it is.
I literally have no idea. I know it's a code. Wait, I quickly
Game
open it.
giveaway roulette.
I can tell you, like, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 codes. And
That is enough in order to 2 a week for the entire month of February.
also,
That's
if
wild.
you guys want, I can throw some Sims codes too.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
do-
lord.
I do
Yeah, the
have
beautiful
those.
thing about being game changers is EA gives us stuff, and we don't always necessarily use it. So I mean, it's fun in order to be able to just give it away. So at least if it comes to a use, so we can definitely start doing that. That being said,
I literally just checked quickly. If you guys want Sims 2 and Sims Legacy Edition, they just recently came out. Apparently, have you heard that?
yeah, I heard. I haven't checked. I haven't checked mine recently. I will probably do that.
So
later
if you
this
want
afternoon.
those, I'll just give it away. Like literally, okay, guys, just join the Patreon. I'll give away the codes. I don't know what to do with them. I don't care. Just like I'm not gonna play these games. Some of them are old, some of them are good, but regardless, they're legit games. You know, they're legit games, whatever the case may be. And then also I have to verify it's PC only. I don't have any console codes for now, so I'm so sorry about that. But yeah, if join the Patreon, I'll just give away the codes. And also join the Patreon because we have some amazing episodes there. It's just we do some amazing stuff. We just like people joining on a regular basis. It's just like they get. Even if you join as a free member, you might not get early access, but you can listen to the podcast ad free because they become public after the early access and they don't have any ads in them. So. That's how a former DICE developer was listening to us. He joined my Patreon and he just kept listening to our episodes on the Patreon app because they had no ads, and he just continued to listen.
Natural growth.
Yeah,
it's
he just
great
he
stuff.
just continued to listen on the Patreon app because like he has no ads. He just joined as a member on my Patreon and that's it. So yeah, patreon.com/TheLankySoldier. We have some amazing stuff behind the scenes, some extra videos, just some good stuff there. Of course, we have socials, all that kind of stuff. So
share it around, like, subscribe, leave comments, like what you like. Tell
leave
us
a
what you
rating,
don't
all that
like.
kind of stuff.
If this episode ran on for too damn long because both of us decided to ramble at the back end of it, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, do let us know. Actually, okay, now I'm gonna do that now. But yeah, thank you guys for listening, all that kind of stuff, and yeah, share it around, share it with everyone. Like, send it to a person that wants to play Battlefield, and they can listen to this, whatever the case may be.
Hack your grocery store PA system and play it over that.
Oh
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
No, do
I'm
that.
just kidding.
Do that.
Don't do that. Don't
Do that. No, do that. Do that. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.